I want to actually start this stream a bit. However, I want to actually discuss on something that I have ran into. I've been running into as of recently, and personally, I did not know how to really address it, and I didn't want to address it in such a manner of aggression, mainly because I felt that it would be improper of me to do so. More so, I felt because, I think that it wouldn't reach out to many of the players out there, many of the people in the gaming community that do need, some proper words of encouragement, if you will. And my issue is, and just to be flat out honest with you, is that I know in the past I have given aggressive encouragement, tough love, things like that, and I think that's cool to some extent, even to some degree. But something like this, I felt that this really needs to be addressed, and this really needs to be not just only spread abroad to just have discussions, but it's more so of, okay, instead of commentating on this, we need to start encouraging, to start purveying solutions. What are solutions to these issues? And granted, I'm hoping I can do some gameplay of this. I may have to stop the video and then go ahead and do the actual gameplay. But I want to talk about just players in general, in terms of players that are starting out as tanks in Final Fantasy 14, or players that lack the knowledge of playing specific roles in this game. And it's much akin to almost any game that you see. You're going to run into a lot of elitists. You're going to run into a lot of players that think they're beasts. They know what they're doing. It's all about that 420 blaze it, no scoping, quick scope, shoot them in the butt, all that. I mean, it's about that to most players. And some players adapt differently based on not just only their intelligence, but their absorbance. And most of it is just, some people can really adapt pretty well. Some people can understand the system direction quite well because they're around most, games like MMOs, other MMOs that give them that idea of, oh snap, this is what this is and this is what this like. So it's, so in a sense to them, it's common sense for them. While players who are looking into adapting into MMOs, they're not going to know what to do in the game because they may not have that time. And I'm not saying that's not an excuse itself, but they may not have that time, or they may not be aware. She's pretty. May not be aware that of the ability to actually research what they're playing, or what class they're playing, or anything as such. And at that point, it is their responsibility for them to to actually to go ahead and research what they're playing and all that good stuff. And my thing of it is that I'm just going into this room here, so just give me 1 second. I'm just going in here, and I'm going to put on some music to kind of really set the mood here, because alright, hopefully you guys can hear me while this music plays, because I know it's a bit loud. If not, I can turn it off. All right. I just put it here. So I'll put that at 95. So because I think this is really important. So what I want to discuss, like I said, the thing of it is that you are responsible for researching the content that you're playing. You are responsible for researching most of the stuff that that you're getting into. And of course, if you have players that are around you that wish to play with you and that wish to want to teach you how to play or showcase you how to play, that's fine. I have no problem with that. In fact, that's very encouraging. However, I think that will definitely strengthen our community a lot. Something that I believe that would definitely put this community over and many of our other gaming communities over, because it's really a growing issue now in terms of just the elitism that's really starting to discourage players to just quit the game, because that happened to me playing DC Universe Online. And wow, that's actually loud. I don't want to fight my voice through that, so give me a second. I mean, I love the song, but and I hate to not, I hate to, I hate to to turn it down because I love that song. But in any event, the thing of it is that I want to, that I do want to say, however, is what's at fault here. I know most of it, to anybody out there that desires to ignore, rather most people can just easily ignore most of this stuff. But I personally feel that even as a human being and as a player that plays and that does care about other players out there, it becomes an emotional issue, because most players get on just to not be bothered by what's going on around them, what goes on in their family, friends, relationships, outside issues, whatever. You know what I'm saying? I mean, people don't want to be bothered by that stuff. And in most cases, their sanctuary happens to be in gaming or in comics. It's much akin to if you were praying, or if you were, writing a book, writing a novel, or if you're sewing, if you're, taking up a hobby, if you're going out to work out, to do some work, your artwork, whatever the case may be, whatever it is that is your tranquil moment, it is much akin to games. If someone was to really disrupt that, whether it's in game or out, or if someone was even your neighbor, they was disrupting your tranquil time, that is the same way as a person getting on into a game to actually cause a disruption to other players around them, even if they were to cast vitriol to others that are especially to their spirit man, because that's discouraging them, or even just giving them this perspective that this is what this community is about. I'm not going to spend any of my monies on this, because by then it's going to give them that perception that everybody's like this, and in this case that's going to make them angry. And you have to realize too that you also had a starting point. You did not know anything about this game, and even if you did, going into this said game, you did not have any knowledge whatsoever of what these classes were about. You didn't know how they played. You didn't know how how to do rotations or anything as such. You actually picked that up from other players that are that have the ability or have the resources to purvey these their data and their knowledge to the community via YouTube, or or to the Final Fantasy forums, or wherever forum that you may be, that you may be from, or may be in, or you're registered in, that deals with Final Fantasy 14 or any other game for that matter. But this is something that's stated to a person, and I hope that this will be an encouragement to some out there that are that may struggle through this, because even not only as a player but as a minister, not only just a minister but as a man and as a player as well, I've gone through this, and I even been through this through other games. MGO being an example, and I'm coughing that because my rage is absolutely real. You'll definitely see that in most of those games. But I want to say this because in truth, this is what's going to help you, and this is what's going to help others in the community, and this is something I think we need to grasp hold to, and this is something grasp hold to, excuse me, as this is more of the solution, if you will. And this guy stated, he was like, the problem as a new tank these days is that everyone wants to speed run things. This is true. DPS are attacking before I can even establish aggro, and healers are pulling additional mobs in. I really hate this. I just started the game as a new tank and have finally come up to eye level 105, but I still have problem with eye level 120 DPS attacking just as I use shield lob, which he was playing as a paladin. Any tips on reestablishing aggro if provoke plus shield lob don't work? Now, before anybody says 105, what is this? I mean, and then they'll, before you establish that this person may be a low-level scrub and talking about, eye level 120 this or whatever the case may be. This comment was in February 1st to 2015, so this is old. This was a year old. But I felt motivated, compelled in my heart to actually, state this. And for something like this was since last year to now, all right? And this has been an issue, all right? And this is one of the things I want to say before I get down to my comment. I have seen this completely. Even as a warrior, I have videos of then when I was playing, I was actually streaming, and this is something I would, I'm not going to say I would never forget, but this is something I would say that has been ingrained or embedded in my mind, and I hope that after speaking about this, I will let go. The problem, was I was playing in an instance, and it was me and my best friend, Lightbreaker, aka also known as Azrael Nocturne and Jalala Jilla in this game. He's in my free company known as the Sacred Order. And what it is that, he just got his Elgato, all right? He just received his recorder device at the time, and he's only playing on a PlayStation 3. It would be easier if he was playing on a PlayStation 4 with me. You know what I'm saying? So, we could communicate a lot better and would be in party chat easily, things like that. Better communication instead of being on chat so you guys can hear his voice as well. But overall, it's just great that he has his Twitch, YouTube channel ready to go, and plus he got his Elgato, so he's going to be streaming much better quality videos than personally me, you know what I'm saying? So, but in any event, I'll just get to the point. Me and him was playing, and we had another party member, and this one guy, he was a healer, and he had EOS out, so I believe he was a, I think he was a summoner, or I don't know what the class is. I'd say scholarist right now, but he had EOS, and what it is that the black mage was there, and then Chris was also a black mage, I believe. But in any event, no, he was actually a dragoon, and everybody ran in front of me. Now the black mage, the healer ran in front of us, and my thing of it is that I don't care if I'm even higher level. I'm going to allow the tank to do what he has to do, even if he's just new to the game. If he doesn't know what he's doing, my biggest advice, my thing of it is I'm going to actually help the guy out to let him know this is what you need to do and things like that, if he just doesn't know what he's doing. Because a lot of players are annoyed by most things, and you have every right to be annoyed. You have every right to be annoyed by most of the things. How you react to situations details and highlights your character, highlights and details your integrity. All right, take note of that. Meanwhile, this player goes up, and I'm tanking as my warrior. He goes up right in front of me. Okay, goes right in front of me. Now, my camera was positioned in front of him, all right in front of me. Okay, it was always because I always make sure where everybody is, so that way I can detail and highlight what's going on. If I know something is wrong, or if I know somebody's actually doing something completely wrong, I want to make sure that as a tank, I'm making sure that that person is held at their responsibility. You know, they're held at their highest responsibility of that situation. And in this case, now if I was a DPS, I could care less because I'm a DPS. You know what I'm saying? I mean, my job is to basically follow the tank, and if something is wrong on my end, then yo, that's not, you know, then yo, I have to be responsible of that. You know what I'm saying? Now, for me personally, he was running right in front of me, and everybody's following him, and I felt like, okay, this is not right. So due to this, what I did was, I saw him, I looked at him, and I saw him pull the aggro. It wasn't, he blinked, and I'll get to that, what he said in a second. He pulled the aggro, okay? He pulled it. I saw his character make the action to, he attacked the aggro, pulled the aggro, and then he expected me to grab the aggro for him. Wrong thing to do. That's not the healer's job to pull the aggro, and the tank to basically keep the aggro or hold the aggro. That's not the tank's, that's not the healer's responsibility. It is not the DPS responsibility. It's the tank's responsibility to pull the aggro, because he sets the pace, and he or she sets the pace, and he or she completely controls the outcome of that instance. Okay, tanks are the most, you know, they have the most responsibilities in Final Fantasy XIV, while healers have, they take control, or rather they control the life of the party. All right, and it's up to the DPSs to, you know, to dish out that damage in the game. That's how that works. It's basically it's the holy trinity of Final Fantasy XIV: tanks, DPS, tanks, healers, DPS. Period. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's just, or rather, I would say, tanks, DPS, healer. It's that simple. You know what I'm saying? It's completely that simple. Tanking is not the same as DC Universe Online or anything as such. It's not like any other MMO that you may play, all right, that you're playing or you may have experienced. It's just that way. I'm not speaking from an expert level, and I don't believe anybody's really an expert, aside from the fact that it's just how intelligent they are and how good and talented they pervade, you know, they pervade to many of the players in this game. I mean, personally, I feel that if you're just one of the best FCs in the game, that's great. You know what I'm saying? You're doing something right, and I hope to, and I hope to be encouraged of, you know, of what you're doing, you know, of your gameplay, and for me to set myself out to be, you know, the best as well, I guess. You know, I mean, my thing of it is, overall, is this guy basically pulled the aggro and did not accept responsibility whatsoever. I saw him pull the aggro. You know, I said, dude, can you please not to pull aggro anymore? I said, let me pull the aggro. That's my responsibility. And he states he didn't. The other black mage did. And rather, the black mage did. And the black mage didn't do no such feat. And even then, you know, the black mage was like, I didn't do no such thing. And I stated to him, okay, dude, listen, I saw you did it. My best friend here saw you did it. He's recording. I'm recording. I can stop it, take you to my YouTube channel, pinpoint to you when you did this. As I, you know, as my camera was fixed right there, I knew when you was going in front of us, you was going to do something that was going to cause the disruption to this, you know, to this party. I don't care whether it's a low-level dungeon or if he's in a high-level dungeon. It doesn't matter. You do not, you know, you do not disrespect the tank at all by simply pulling the aggro and then expect for me to hold the aggro, and you're not knowing what positioning, you know, the positioning that I'm doing. All right. If I have problems, I have, you know, if I have problems or if I need some help, I think I have two options. I can go to YouTube, or if somebody here in this party that knows what they're doing in regards to tanking, I would have no problem asking. Just being flat out honest with you. But that's something I'm not going to struggle with my mind or my emotions no more. Please don't do that. So he goes into this long halls of life argument about saying something about he didn't do it, and then I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to read into that. I'm not going to argue with it. I'm just telling you, don't do it. If you want to argue about it, that's on you. But I'm not going to argue. You're not a pro player. And, you know what I'm saying, and quintessentially, you're not understanding where I'm coming from. If you wish to argue, go on Jerry Springer, dude, because that's where drama lies. Here, this is not, all right? So I'm playing, and this guy continues talking, and I'm thinking like, okay, this dude want to argue, that's fine. I'm not going to respond to it. So he starts making quip lines in terms of like, he was just saying some things that did not, you know, that he started lying about the player pulling the aggro. You know, the DPS, you know, excuse me, the black man was just pulling the aggro. And then he starts stating about how Eos pulled the aggro, which Eos did not pull the aggro at all. She's a healer. I don't know much about scholars or summoners. I don't know nothing about those classes. I don't have those. I don't have Arcanus leveled up, but I do know that Eos, from my understanding and from what I've seen, did not pull the aggro, or does not pull aggro unless she. I don't know. I don't know much about that. But aside from that, I just know that from what I saw, she did not pull the aggro. He made the aggro when he actually pulled the aggro when he started attacking the enemies there. So when I told him this, I was like, dude, Eos didn't pull the aggro. The black mage shouldn't pull the aggro. You did, and you're lying. And you're lying to two people that are, and you're lying. You're trying to intelligent, to insult two of the players who are recording intelligence, when you are simply pulling the aggro. Dude, I mean, it does not make any sense for you to simply do that. Well, all you gotta do is just take responsibility of your own actions. If someone says don't do something, and you're simply continuing making an argument over something that makes no sense whatsoever, okay, when you're making and when you're creating and curating an argument, detailing lies to facade your pride, all right, that makes zero sense to me, because all you have to do is say, okay, you know what, I'm sorry, Tank, do your job, or Tank, go ahead, lead the way. No problems at all, right? At least I would do, at least I'm like, okay, cool, we can go ahead and do this, and if he doesn't like me in the end and doesn't want to give me accommodation, I'm cool with that. But the problem I have is that this player was not taking responsibility of his actions, and then wants to continue to argue even after a person stated they're not reading that, they're not going to argue. And if you want to continue to argue, then guess what? You are going to simply, you're going to get kicked. Simple. If you want to continue arguing, we're going to simply kick you. And that's what happened. He got kicked out of the party. It riled me up a bit, because I was like, I didn't even argue with the guy. I don't know why he wants to continue to argue. I don't know why he wants to continue to, to insult and things like that. But you know what? It is what it is. And I did that because, we just didn't want to argue. We didn't want to argue. We didn't want to say anything, crazy. I didn't want to like do anything to cause a disruption or anything as such. But it was what it was. We got ourselves a player, another DPS. We got another DPS, and we had a good time. And that's all that mattered. So with that, that was my issue there in terms of how players would get on to, to cause disruption. And I'm seeing a lot of messages, so you guys give me 1 second. And for those that are watching the video as a video, no. So, what I want to say is this. So my thing of it is, overall, is that a player, my thing of it is that most players will not, they won't come in, all right? I mean, they won't, I mean, they're going to come into this game and not know what to do, all right? And there are some players who will take stupid pride and think that they know what they're doing and will continue to mess up. Those type of players are the ones that are causing disruption. And it's going to go into my response here. And I want to say this right here. And I told this guy, I said, you know, I know this is a very old comment, but a strong one to discuss. And I said, I agree with you immensely because as a starting paladin, which is the truth, which is starting paladin posing to my Dark Knight and Warrior, you know, which of course my Dark Knight class is level 55, and my my other character Cadence, she's level 52 as a warrior. I said the Salt is extremely well with the elitists that are habitual line steppers in terms of pulling aggro before the tanks. As a role, you set the pace of the instance. Whether you perform to their standards or not is irrelevant, as your job is to do your best. If you do pair with players that are really rude and start without you, two things to note. Simple common sense. They are and will cause disruption to the party. If they are insulting you, easily to just play it out unless they go onward with their vitriol and vulgarity. From there, just vote kick them and at best report them. Simple knowledge. No one started this game as a beast player. Everyone has their learning waves, and how the player adapts to the system direction depends on humility and being what is called, and this is a minister's term, teachable. Providing tips when someone lacks knowledge is the purveyor of wisdom. That also strengthens the community that we desperately desire in our gaming. To note, if the party you're in agrees with the player that's trashing you, and they desire to kick you instead, they are as responsible as the instigator and by right can be reported as well for wrongful kicking. Now this is true. There will be players that you will go in and they will start trying to curate a toxic nature or a toxic air in the instance, and they will simply say, oh, you're a scrub too, things like that. You'll eventually run into that as well, and if you have not already. In this case, because of that, you're going to simply, it may cause a wave of distraction, a wave of disruption, and definitely disparagement with the players as well. And if you partake in that, well, you're disparaging yourself as well. However, if you keep a level head, this is what I say to that. Just kick, if you kick the person that caused the disruption, if they kick you instead, just re-queue it in the instance. If you kick them and they simply was like, you know what, I want to get through this, can we please just blah blah blah, well, at this point you could simply just leave the instance, even as a tank, because the thing of it is that tanks can be easily queued in, no problems at all. The problem of it is that getting a good tank is pretty hard. So they're the ones that are missing out, from you, and instead the mature route is to go, and I will explain that in a second. And I said most of this can be ignored, but these days players would take things to a whole different chapter and would outright verbally attack you for no reason. It's pointless, not needed, and by that point it's not worth the stress to stay. Leaving the instance would be the better choice, because while you're taking a 30-minute instance lockout, there are a crap tons of things you can do in the game, like leveling up other skills, crafting, or glamour out the character, making money, doing levs, etc., etc. Way better than to stay in the instance with players that would rather add toxic than to be of help. So I hope this long message be informative to you and anyone that views this, as it has been a growing issue in the game, and And as someone who has experienced this myself, much love and many thanks, peace and blessings. This is my thing here, just being flat out. Like I said, that is something that I have observed. This is something that many people cannot conform to, and I'm not saying that many will definitely adapt to what I'm saying and will say, oh man, day one, here we go, I'm going to go ahead and do this. No, this is something as a ritual to us, and all you have to do is simply say, look, calm down, I'm not here to chastise you, I'm just giving you a tip. If you're too prideful, if I can't talk to you, if you're not teachable, I'm sorry. You know what I'm saying? Well, you're not sorry, but it's better for you to say, you know, and you're, you know, even if you're in, you know, I'm sorry, I'm finna go. All right. You know, if they want to be vulgar, if you want to continue, they want to be vulgar and they not want to comply to your, you know, to your leadership. It doesn't mean that you're the boss. It just means that you're a leader of the group. All right. If they can't comply to that, kick them out. And if the party members don't want to kick them out and they want to continue to cause disruption, another option, leave. You're not disparaging anything aside from the fact that you may be taking a 30-minute lockout, instance lockout. There's other things you can do in the game. All right. You can go to Fates. Fantasy 14 has a ton of things to do. All right. If you have crafting classes, you can Gillionaire, all that jazz. If you look at me right now, I or doubles of I said don't need, and you know, and then sell them off so I can, you know, make me some gil, you know, so I can travel around and, you know, in Orza, or you know what I'm saying, or do I want to do the same? You know what I'm saying, go around, socialize with other players, have fun. You know, there's missions I can do. You know, I can continue on my Heaven's War content. I can, you know, I can do my Manderville stuff. Again, tons of other things you can do, perform, produce in this game, then sit here and argue with players that will continue to waste your time for 15-20 minutes. In 15-20 minutes, you can at least make you a good, cool 200,000 gil. In 15-20 minutes, you could possibly take a person under your wing to, say, I don't know, help them level up. 15-20 minutes, you can get from 1 to maybe level 15 with one of your classes. I'm just saying, much more production could be had even in 30 minutes of your time. Imagine what you can do, you know, with your time, than just to sit here and argue with somebody over absolutely nothing. Because at the end of the day, if you're in an instance, they are not at all in the same, they're not in the same world as you. Simple as that. They're not in the same world as you. And that's 9 times out of 10. If they happen to be right beside you, or they happen to, you know, be in, you know, the same, you know, server as you, to be in the same world as you, then what are the odds? And at that point, what are you going to do? You're going to, you know, cap locks each other to death afterwards? I mean, you're going to bust the caps locks on them afterwards? Nothing's going to be accomplished. Because chances are somebody may be right around the corner and they watch you, and they either are watching you, they're, you know, if you, especially if you put in the shout chat, or especially if you put in the, you know, in the say chat, they can watch you and they can say, you know what, I'm going to report both of you guys. And that's it. Or a moderator will be right there and they can report you. Or they can simply ban you for it, especially if you're going to go on a level of scale of being vulgar. And granted, I've only seen this once, and I've experienced this once. I've seen this once in Final Fantasy 14, whereas, you know, I got into, you know, a chat, you know, a shout chat because a person wants to say I'm a tranny, whatever, all this garbageness is just whatever. You know, I've only experienced that once, and you know, when I was just in the regular world, and thank God the dude got banned because he didn't offend me, he offended many other players around. And the thing of it is that people have to realize and understand that when you see that, and when you see this, and if you feel that the other player that is defending themselves are, you know, if you're attacking them for the, you know, on the issue of what the instigator is doing, or what the other player is doing, you're taking responsibility. Rather, you are responsible as the instigator. And you have to know that even when you're in a party and when you're in an instance, okay, if a player is to cause disruption, all right, and if the person who is under defense, who's in defense, is I don't want to say the victim, but you can say the victim or the person that's in defense, if they are attempting to relieve that player, the disruption out of that party, and you press and you vote no, if you vote no, you are prolonging what you desire to do, and that's simply to progress forward in the game. If you leave the instance because you don't wish to partake in the drama, you are every bit as responsible as the instigator, as the person that caused the disruption. You are the disruption as well, and you are every bit as responsible. Even if you don't want to partake in that drama, you are every bit as responsible if you do not do nothing at all, because you're sitting there and if this person hasn't done anything at all and you have the knowledge and you're witnessing the issue, you are every bit as responsible. Whereas the solution for you is to simply put, kick them out. Now, if the person was to cause a disruption and then they want to go under defense because of something what the player is doing, they may take out misunderstanding. Then at the point it becomes, at that point it's their responsibility. And if there's nothing to be had, then you can go ahead and just leave the instance and leave them there. You know what I'm saying? There's plenty of other things. There's things that can happen, and trust me, I've been through those situations. The bottom line being is that I hope that people will understand that. I really want players to be encouraged to know that there is hope. There is solutions. There is hope to move forward, to progress forward in the issues at hand. And even at times when someone wants to get angry, it's not you. They're not angry at you. It's them. Even if they was to say it's you, it's not you. It's them. And even at times it's okay to talk about it, because in the end it's not them, it's you. Well, excuse me, it's not you, it's them. And if you're angry because of, and at times, yes, you can get tired of situations that you see, and it's very similar to the experiences that you had in the past instance. Yes, I get tired of seeing that. I'm tired of seeing people get angry over craziness. There's many other things you can get angry over. And it's okay to be angry, sin not. It's okay to be tired of situations. It's okay to feel these emotions. I'm not saying you shouldn't be. What I'm saying is it's okay to get, to be, to feel these emotions. It's okay to doubt. It's okay to do all these things. But you can't sit there and say this is a problem and then there's no solution. You can't say, well, people are going to do whatever they want to because they're grown. This is not the case here. You're not going to ever meet this person outside unless they become your friend and they become, or you go into an intimate relationship with them, or they become your best friend, or they're your family, lost friends, lost family, whatever the case may be. If something positive grows out of it, that's between you and whatever that outcome is, which is great. Don't get me wrong, it's great. It's absolutely fantastic. But what I'm saying, however, is that allow positivity to outshine the negativity that we see in our communities. Please let this video be nothing more but an encouragement to you guys out there that may have been struggling with this issue in Final Fantasy XIV and everywhere else. Alright, I've gone through it, and as of recently, I stated that I was not going to go through it no more. And that's what's been kind of putting me off playing Final Fantasy XIV. That's what's been, kind of putting me off, because I want, players, I desire, for players to play with me. I desire to play with players, and I want to be as teachable as possible, because I'm not going to ever have the answers. I can have wisdom, but I would never have answers. I would never be the Mr. Know-It-All to anybody else. The only thing that I could do is just to purvey what I know, and to purvey, you know, I just wish to mentor the players in this game. I wish to mentor, to be under the mentorship in this game, so I can, you know, be a mentor to, you know, to the new players, or, you know, to the, to anybody that comes into my FC. I would love to have that. I would love to be that. But again, it's not just for me to say I'm Mr. Know-it-all, I'm some expert. It's for me to say that, look, I've been through it, and I can tell you how to go, you know, how to get through it. Because there's still and I want to touch it. And there are certain areas in that I exceed and can excel in much better than every other class or every. So I'm willing to grow in knowledge, and I'm willing to grow in wisdom, as well as I'm willing to grow to learn, so I can be said teachable. So with that being said, I want to go ahead and end this broadcast, in this video, to say, stay encouraged, be encouraged, know that you know, there are players out there that do desire to be around you, and that do desire to play with you, that do desire to be teachable, and do desire to be of some positive light to you. You know, just stay encouraged, and just know that. And if anybody wants to play with me, I am in Midgardsormr. I also play in Sargatanas. I have plenty of other characters in different servers, but I mainly play in Midgardsormr and Sargatanas. This is my character, Opal Valentine. You know what I'm saying? My free company is known as the Sacred Order. Please feel free to look me up. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, just put it down in the comment section below. You know, I don't respond to anything vitriol. You know, if I'm set to something, I set it, and I don't take any requests at all unless I'm done with my talks or sermons or whatever. So, but until then, guys, this is Shonuff. Thank you for watching. I'll be blessed. And I'll be right back to actually do a little bit of streaming for those that are watching this on the stream. But until then, for everybody else, be blessed.